Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's AUDJPY Securities webinar, Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. My name is Duncan Cooper. If you could read through the disclaimer before we get going, that would be great. Any questions to the chat box or the question box. If you're on our YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat, so if you're chatting to me, I can't answer, but you're more than welcome to follow the link that I gave and you can just join us in the webinars. All right, so just read through the disclaimer and then we'll get into it. All right, let's move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm a Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at AUDJPY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader. Been trading the Forex market for more than 15 years, been mentoring clients for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And if you want to connect with me through the week, hit our website, acy.com Market News tab. Get my analysis there. You'll get it on our AUDJPY Securities Australia YouTube channel. You can connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn, and you'll probably get my analysis there too. And you can connect with me in our Telegram channel, where I am providing an analysis updates through the week in there. Just contact Nathan Bray for access to that. I'll put his details in the chat momentarily. As well, if you want to get access to my MT4 chart layouts and templates that you'll see me using, just contact Nathan. He will organize that and set you up. And if you've got any questions about accounts or account openings, then just contact Nathan. He will sort you out on all those topics. So I'll put his details in the chat. There we go. All right, so let's get into it. We'll just have a look at what news is coming out over the next 24 hours. Refresh this. So we've obviously had the interest rate decision from the RBA today. 25 basis point rise, expectation of more raises to come. So maybe a bit of a risk thing tonight, 3 o'clock in the morning from the US, Fed Chair Powell speaks. What will he be saying? Will he be saying anything about interest rates and further ones to come? 3:30, we got the Bank of Canada Governor Mackin speaking too in the morning. Thursday early morning, we've got the FOMC member Williams speaking as well. So there's not too much other than a couple of speeches here, primarily this one from Fed Chair Powell at 3 a.m. and due to participate in the moderate discussion at the Economic Club of Washington. So we'll have to wait and see what he has to talk about, what he wants to say. The fact that it's listed there must mean that he's going to have the potential to say something about interest rates and drive the market. So there we go. Now, what we are definitely seeing from last week's news, where we had central banks from Eurozone, UK, US raising their interest rates, and then job figures on Friday from the US, we are having a US dollar rally for sure. So let's get into the charts and have a look at that. So the dollar index, I'm just going to go to the weekly chart here. This is the range of last year from last year's low up to last year's high. We've reversed just below the 62% level at this weekly support level here at 101.28. So pretty much the 101 to 100 level. I think we got down to just below 101. Couldn't get down to 100. And we're having a reversal there. Now, this weekly trend, though, is still down. And we have seemingly today touched this top. Now, we have 2 monthly tops here that we've been below. Can we move back above? Now, if we can't move back above, this may well be a short-lived rally. All right. And if I get rid of this larger fib that's bullish in terms of last year's trading range, from a weekly perspective, we have a lower top, lower bottom here. And all that could maybe happen is how it lines up at the 62 level and that monthly top. If we can't move above there, we may well be moving back down. So that's the critical level to watch over the next few trading days. Can we move above 103.82 with any conviction? All right. Now we've had a very nice, in fact, we're in the fourth day at the moment. Fourth day has hit that level of resistance. 4-day rally. So it is the strongest rally we've had for quite a while. Are we putting in a long-term bottom? We'll just have to wait and see and watch what price tells us. So whilst that's rallying up there quite strongly, the S&P 500 is failing at the 7% retracement of the monthly range here, potentially. On the weekly chart here, we could be having, just drawing these 2 weekly tops, maybe forming a triple top across here. All right, we are back below those 2 tops. So I'm getting a long-term failure here. Before I move down, is the dollar index going to be moving up? So we need a bit more information. Definitely on the stock market here, the trend on the day chart's still up. So we're not seeing a clear shift in trend yet on the daily, but definitely seeing a clear shift in trend on the dollar index on the daily. So we might pull back to this top here for support before we can move higher. But we definitely need to get back above 103.83 there. Or 103.82 is the level. All right, so positive US dollar at the moment. Not too sure about the indices. This could put in another higher bottom, move higher yet. So that needs to change trend if we're topping out. All right, I'm just going to click through, see what's going on. It's got a helicopter flying over the top of my house. All right, now might start with dollar yen here. Now the dollar yen, let's put a minor higher bottom in here on the weekly chart. It's looking very similar to the US dollar index in last year's lows here to high, 62% support coming in here. Minor higher bottom there on the day, on the weekly there with the outside week. And we've actually gapped up this week to daily resistance. So I'm just watching 131.11. Can we pull back to that level of broken daily resistance to be support here? Which is last week's high. So, and we've got this gap in here that potentially will be filled. Generally gaps get filled. So I'll be watching for price to come into that gap and fill it. So the gap is at the moment here. All right. So it really needs to come down to last week's high. Now we could well get down to there today. It's having a little bit of a sell-off at the moment. All right, so I will be watching 131.11. Last week's high, 131.19. So anyway down to 131.100. So I'd highlight that whole area there. All right, that could be good, strong support when the green zone, the pivots too. So getting down to there, if this is going to continue long-term up, then the day chart here, this broken level of resistance here should act as support. Okay, so I'll be monitoring that level, see whether that will bring support for the market for a move back up and a move further up. Okay, and move further up. We've moved above last week. This is a weekly low here, heading towards the next weekly low, which is here at 133.62. So to the weekly chart, we've moved above that weekly low. That's the next major level of resistance. So if we're going to continue up and maybe have a long-term move up, we need to challenge that next level of weekly resistance and move through it over the next week. Okay. We don't want to be moving back below this weekly level that we broke above last week at 130.40. So at the moment, as I was saying, watching 131.00 up to 131.19, that area there. Can we pull back into the area, hold? Can you see you're set up to buy for a move back up towards that weekly level of resistance now, which is here at 133.62. Okay. So let's go to the 4-hour chart there. So putting back to this area, and then can we find support here to move up to 133.62 is what I'm watching. All right, I'm going to go left to the Aussie yen. Now, they put in the Telegram today to watch up at the 191, sorry, looking at the 91.91 level, daily resistance, up to 9,200 and up to the 79% fib level here that I've got drawn in. Now, after the RBA statement, we did trade up and hit 91.91, so it may not get any higher. I mean, it could come back up to that level, could come up to 92. You can watch to see if you can get another chance to maybe be a seller up there. Last Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, I think it was. Let me just double check. Oh, that's Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday last week. We really struggled up at the 92 level. So is this a left shoulder? I know that's a higher bottom, but is this a left shoulder? Is that a head that needs to just get up to the top point? And is this a right shoulder forming here? So left shoulder, head. Are we going to form our right shoulder here? Now, last week, I think it was it last week? Yeah, pretty sure last Wednesday, I went through a lot of 79% retracement levels on the Aussie yen. It's really liking the 79% retracements and reacting in those areas. I mean, it could get all the way back up to 92.18, or maybe it's just holding at that day resistance level. All right, is resistance holding, or can we actually get up a little bit higher? So you can monitor to see if it can get back up there. It's getting some form of day support today at the central pivots, but has it already had its rally back up into the area for the last chance? So you can monitor to see whether we can get back up there. All right, don't know whether we can get back up there, but that would be the area that I'd be watching if you're not already in. I am short already. I got short above 92 last week. So I'm just waiting to see if this can break down. And can it break down to come down to, get rid of that day support level, can it come down to this weekly chart? Let me just get rid of that fib. Can it come down to challenge these levels of weekly support, monthly support down here? Because what I've seen is on the weekly perspective, we've had a 62% retracement. Are we now forming like a little head and shoulder pattern on the day chart to confirm the move down? And we could break through support towards the 127 extension level. All right, that's what I'm planning. That's what I'm hoping is going to be happening with my trade. All right, so back to that 4-hour, as the fib drawn across that whole range like that. I was showing it on the day chart. So there's the left shoulder, there's the head, potentially there's the potential right shoulder. Have we already failed? So I would be trading this at the moment. You might have half a chance that it can get back up to 91.91, but you may have already missed the boat. So tomorrow, depending on where we finish today, we could move below 91 today. So tomorrow, then I would be looking at 91 to be resistance on any kind of form of rally. But we'll just have to wait and see how price runs out for the rest of the day. Aussie dollar, still a bit bullish today at the moment. Intraday, we have managed to take out yesterday's high. So here is the weekly chart look. Are we forming a major double top across here? This is the range of last year. I've been discussing this on a number of pairs, the yearly range. So we failed at the 62 level ultimately at the moment. Things were looking very bullish last, what was it, Thursday morning? But then it subsided, sold off, and then sold off through Friday into Monday. And that was an outside reversal week, very negative. And we are positive at the moment for this week, getting some form of support here, weekly support, 68.93, okay? And also day support here at 68.72. So this has had a very good 3-day move down. So I would be watching at the moment this level of broken day support, 69.84. Anywhere from 69.84 up to 70. Does that area now offer resistance for a further move down? All right, so we're having a day up just today at the moment. That would be the level we'll be watching. It could move up higher. I mean, you could drop to the 4-hour chart, draw a fib across that whole range. If you're already short from up here, you obviously don't want it to move back above 69.84 or back above 70, but this could come all the way back up if it really wants to. Could come up to 62 level, could come up to 79 level. You're just going to have to monitor how high a rally we get. But the first level I'll be watching for failure is definitely that 69.84 level to the 70 level. That's a very logical broken level of support, could be resistance. Okay, so it does look like on the higher time frame that we're maybe forming a double top on a weekly. So now it's a question of, if you're not already short, how can you get short? Look to sell a rally. So watch that 69.84 up to 70 level. Okay. And well, we could all, of course, go much higher up to the 71 level if it really wanted to. 79% fibs almost at that same level up here. All right, Euro Yen. Now, I did say in the Telegram today, watch 142.55 to be resistance. We couldn't quite retest it today. But of course, we failed there yesterday. And I said on the weekend, watch 142.55 to be maybe resistance for failure. So it is coming to fruition. So now we're forming potentially up here a triple top, false breaking above this weekly resistance low here. So if we go to the weekly chart, there's that weekly low. You can see that candle there. That's the top of that daily chart. There's another candle there on the weekly. That's the other daily chart top. And we're potentially putting a triple top in there across the daily chart. It's a little bit short of the 62% retracement of this weekly chart range. So I'm actually topping out here to put in a lower top, like I was suggesting on the Aussie yen, for a long-term move down the range. So that's what I'm potentially looking at as a directive move. Then it's a question of obviously getting in. Now, did anybody manage to get in yesterday? I put the failure up here. So we have now actually put in a lower top here. And Cameron, I see on there, there was a 4-hour entry here. I know you're following this entry style just here, which is showing profits if you took it. All right, so we are moving down at the moment. I was hoping that price at the start of the day would come up and retest 142.55. But if you were watching that level yesterday, see how it failed 3 times here through London, New York, and then it's been moving down since. Now, we just go back to the 4-hour chart. I'll draw a fib across like so. Now, whilst we haven't hit 142.55 today, we could still hit it again this week. We'll be monitoring that whole range. I can see the 79% level is at 142.48. Now, we may not get up to there anymore. We may have already finished in that territory. And I don't know where price will go to today, but if we do actually sink further down tomorrow, any rally back up to 142, which was intraday support here a couple of times through Monday's trading, could be resistance tomorrow. Okay, so I don't like to sell at the bottom of a move. So you can monitor that range, see whether we can come up to any one of these higher fib levels, 62.79, and hold and fail. But ultimately, depending on what the day brings today, tomorrow 142 could be a very good level to watch for resistance. All right, so look to sell a rally. Looks like we're failing. Back to the day chart. Looks like we're potentially forming a triple top. We have broken the low of yesterday, so there's a double top potentially. Here's a triple top. All right. Whether or not it's going to run out as a true double top, I don't know, but it could ultimately just run back down to support, and there's a lot of pips. There's a good close to 400 pips at the moment just down to support, so there's plenty of room to make profit. It's just a question of, can you sell a rally? Don't be selling the bottom of the move. All right, so monitor a retracement, and let's see where it retraces to. Can you see a setup to sell at a 62 or a 79% level, or a pure failure at the figure? Okay, euro dollar. All right, well, last week, Thursday, at one point, this was looking very bullish. It's not looking so bullish now in the short term. Very negative weekly reversal up there. And, you know, there's a weekly top from back in time. And that's where we failed. We also, the range of last year, we failed a little bit short of a 79% retracement. Okay, so we were getting very high up in high territory here. Yes, price action structure at the time was in an uptrend, but if you can just get your head around where, my dog stops barking, if you can get your head around where is the high levels where you don't want to be buying at. You don't want to be buying at close to the 79% level of a major range like last year's trading range. You don't want to be buying at weekly resistance. All right, so whilst it was looking bullish in terms of the day chart up here, you know, that was looking very bullish at one point. This is the last of the buyers coming in, thinking if I don't get in, I'm going to miss out. And of course, now we've actually changed the trend on the daily, and we've had a very negative weekly reversal there. Now, the weekly trend is still up. There is the potential for the weekly trend to hold its trend, and we do further move back up. But where it's failing at, close to the 79% level of the last year's range, this could be a significant top. This could be the top for the year. So I would be monitoring, if you're not already short, drawing a fib from high to low, keep dragging it down if price keeps moving down, and then start to monitor a rally. Now, I don't know whether we can get all the way back up to this area here. That would create a very nice left shoulder area, head to the right shoulder area here. That's last month's high up there at 109.27. Don't know whether we can get there. Got some other levels, 108.79, that's a monthly old low. And then that's a day support low at 108.02. That's a weekly support low at 107.87. So there's last week's low. The first real level I will be watching for possible failure is this area here, 108.02. But last week's low here and a weekly area of old support we've just broken through. So if we get a bounce, that would be a good level to watch for failure up at the 10800 level. All right. Not fussed about trading it up this way. The day chart trend is down. Just looking for a rally to complete. Where can it complete? That would be the first area I would watch at the moment for failure. I did mention last week that we could move down to this area of imbalance that hasn't been filled. Haven't filled it yet, but we're definitely eyeing it up with this very aggressive move down. So at the moment, trend's definitely to the downward side. Look to sell a rally. This area up here would be the area that I'd be watching. All right, pound yen doesn't enthrall me at the moment. It's very range bound. You know, we've had this top of the range up here. Now we've got a smaller range here. This level of support starting to act as resistance. Yes, we could be moving down to this area now, but it's not, doesn't look that attractive to me. The ranges are getting smaller. Right, ranges aren't growing. There's no massive trend forming here at the moment. Range bound, we are having a lower bottom here now to a lower top, and that is probably a 62% retracement. There you go. So if you want to trade this pair, you would need to see if you may have already missed the boat today, but you really want to look for a failure at resistance, which has already occurred today. It's come back up to retest resistance, hit the 62 and fail at that resistance level. So you should have already been in and already potentially risk-free. When you started to see this up here failing underneath that resistance, that was the area through here to get short. All right, should already be in by now if you're trading this down from resistance to the next area of support down here. 156.07's monthly support down here. All right, so I mean, there was an entry there. Edwin, I know you trade the pound crosses. I don't know whether you had a look at that one, but it has offered something there, but you've already missed it if you're not already in it. But over the next, it is quite range bound, this pair. Over the next trading day, we may well come back up to retest that level once more and might offer another opportunity. So it's obviously proving itself to be resistance, but it could have another retest. And he's telling me he missed it. It happened through the night. Yep, that's the problem when you're in the UK. And it happens in Asia. So now we're watching 159.50. So we've got 159.50 down here, which is weekly support. Yeah, I mean, the next obvious thing is now this is moving down. This is your strong support down here. We may hit support and support holds and it reverses back up. So I'm missing the boat here for a sell. Next level to watch would be down here at 156.06 is monthly support. 155.59 down here is weekly support, and there's another lower level here. 155.35, which is last month's low. Go to the weekly chart. There's a lot, get rid of that fib. There's a lot of support through here. So if we do move down to support, expect maybe support to hold. There's that monthly top. A weekly low here, another weekly low there. So that is a very good strong level of support. You know, plan your week out where the key levels to look for price to move to and turn around at. That is definitely one area to watch. Okay. All right, so watch that. So we've already missed 159.50 if you haven't taken that one. Pound dollar, a bit difficult to get on board at the moment. Hopefully some of you got short up here at 124. I was calling the area last week. So on the weekly chart, this double top is coming more and more to fruition. We need to break the low for then a break of that low to run down to the double top price projection at 112.35. All right. So can we break the low? Now, this double top pattern here, if we were getting short up at 124 area, offers great risk to reward. All right, and it, you know, this is all structure. Lessons I've been giving on structure and the higher time frames. We've retraced to the 62% area of last year's trading range. I've been talking about that since December. This happened in the middle of December when we came up, then we fell down, came up for a double top. And, you know, we could be moving all the way back down to where we came from last year. All right. All right, so day charts. Whilst it doesn't look like we could actually get back all the way up to this level of resistance up here, 122.63, if price really wants to. Just draw a fib across that range. Now we're just trying to hold at the moment on a little area of daily support at 120.02. All right, 119.58 is a weekly low from over to the left, which might not come into play, but it may come into play. But the more obvious level is this weekly level support here at 118.41. Are we moving down to that level? Can we break that level with conviction? If you're already short, you want price to attack that level and break. In the interim, if you're not short, then you want to be monitoring the pullback range here. And the 62 levels at 122.42, and that supports at 122.63 that got broken. So price could come up to the area. It looks like a long way to go. Of course, we've got Fed Powell talking in the morning. You might say something negative for the US dollar, which might drive price up. At the moment, if you want to look at the smaller ranges, we are holding to the 4-hour downtrend here. So we have had some form of maybe a 62% retracement here. Just drop it to the 15. So across yesterday's trading range is that 4-hour range. Price action of yesterday. We have seen a move back up to the 62 area and then a fall down. And so it's just getting some support at 120.100, 120.02 day support at the moment. So don't be surprised. We've had how many days down now? 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th day down. Don't be surprised that we at least have 1 day up. All right. Allow it to have at least 1 day up before looking for an opportunity to trade it down, because this is overextended if you're not already short. Yes, it could just keep having days down, but normally after 4 days down, we'll have a day or 2 up. All right. So 120 at the moment isn't the level to be a seller at. All right, so I will just be monitoring the rally. I'll give you an update in the Telegram if you're following in there. All right, just want to double check that's the range from the day, last lower top on the daily. Where does price rally back to if it can rally? So it's hard when price is dropping so swiftly and not having any major rallies. I mean, whilst I'm watching here 122.63 as a possible rally back up in the week, we already tagged it on Friday to sell down from. So we may not get back to that level. You just have to monitor. All right, New Zealand yen. Now this is, depending on where the range is a range up here to down here, or is it getting even narrower? Is it from here to this day level here? If it's from here to here, it's sitting right in the middle. So this is not attractive at all. I'm trying to trade it right in the middle of the range. So just need to be patient with this pair. It'd be great if it came back up to this area. Watch this area, 84.66 up to 84.98, but primarily 84.66. Or I'd go for the lower area, 81.03. Watch these 2 areas, those 2 price points. Anywhere else at the moment, it's just in the middle of the range. You want to be at the extremes. This is, in a range consolidating. So you want to be looking to trade the extremes. And not entirely sure which way it's breaking long term, but it is just consolidating. So look for it to get up to the top again to sell, down to the bottom again to buy. So a number of these yen pairs are rather consolidatory. All right, New Zealand dollar. Like the other pairs to the US dollar, it's had a nice collapse. Now we did make a fresh high on Thursday. I've been calling for a top up here last week and the week before. Looks very similar to the pound dollar. My dog's getting very excited tonight. Kind of a double, triple top area here. Double top here. 1, 2, 3 tops. Hitting monthly resistance in here. This is all high time frame structure. The markets, if the market does run down and has a long-term decline, this is a very good lesson for you all who are watching the market at the moment on higher time frame structure forming from the fact that this is a long-term monthly move down last year. All right. And this is just corrective. And it can get difficult when that corrective move, which hasn't changed trend on the monthly, has been an uptrend on the weekly and the daily. Now this weekly trend hasn't changed. It won't actually change in terms of trend rules until it breaks this low here. And maybe it won't break the low. We'll have to wait and see. But it's clearly failing up here at your monthly resistance. This could be the yearly high. And the day chart is clearly down at the moment. So again, same situation. You're waiting for a rally. I'm looking up here at 64.12. Yes, we could get up to the 62 level. Broken day support at 64.12. So 6,400 up to 64.12. And then watch the fib levels up. And of course, we could get a very significant rally if the market wants to, up to the highs of the 79% levels if it really wants to. So you just need to monitor the rally. You don't want to be a seller at this low area at the moment. Day support seemingly is offering some form of support at the moment, 63.04. And of course, I'll just move back to the weekly. I've got a downward bias, but you might have an upward bias, and that wouldn't be necessarily wrong because the weekly trend is up. Maybe the weekly trend doesn't want to change. And this is just a pullback here. This looks, if I draw my fib the other way, there's a 79% retracement. Maybe it's getting support there to move all the way back up, depending on what side of the fence you want to trade. So if you're on the buy side, there's a 79% retracement. We're getting support on the daily level of support. Maybe this is the time to buy to trade up and price might break through this top. It all depends on what your focus is. All right, I'm focusing on what the monthly trend's telling me, where a lower top could form on the monthly, but price may want to come up now and break right above that monthly area that I'm watching. So there's always two sides to the market, the buy and the sell side. Which side are you on? So I'm favoring that day chart reversal in line with the monthly trend at the moment. So I'm going to redraw my fib back the other way and watch these levels as price starts to maybe pick back up. So I'm going to be watching 64.12, 6,400 up to 64.12 over the next 24 to 48 hours. All right. Dollar Canadian, this is the weekly chart look. It's got a high bottom here, a lower top there. We did have a good reversal ahead of that support here. So we might be putting in a higher bottom here. So it is still a bit mixed because we don't have a higher top, higher bottom scenario. We have higher bottom, lower top. Even if this is a higher bottom, we still have a lower top. So it's not completely clear. But we are coming, support is coming in ahead of weekly support here. So here's your day chart look. There's your weekly level of support. Our weekly top here became support there. We couldn't quite get down there, and then we traded all the way up to this daily top here. And we may have a day down, but if that US dollar strength that we had last week continues, then I'm looking for price to move up. In general terms, towards 136.64, which is monthly resistance. All right. So, I mean, there is a possibility we just remain range bound here. We come up to that top and hold, and we simply trade back down to support. But the fact that we've had US dollar strength showing across most pairs now, this might be a significant weekly bottom coming in. So on your 4-hour chart, you could be drawing a fib, monitoring the pullback to the 62 level, 79 level, and see what happens. Now this could have failed up here at the top of that range to simply trade all the way back down. But we did have a very good reversal last week, so I would be more on the bias of looking for a dip to form and for a move up and through 134.71. All right, so you can monitor that. Do we get a nice dip to form to move higher? And cover the dollar yen. It's not getting down to 131.11 at the moment. That's my level. Gold. All right, so we've had a bit of a significant reversal there on the weekly. Now, this is just another example of where the monthly structure trend is down. We've been moving up from a lower bottom. So let's go to the monthly. Here's your monthly low, where you broke through this double bottom. Then we rallied all the way up to 79% level or just short. And ultimately, we're failing at this monthly top and this very long-term historical top. So what like I was saying to you before, is when we're rallying on the monthly to these high levels of historical highs, 79% area, or we got a fraction short, this is where everybody should be taking profits. This is not where you should be opening a trade. And I know it looks very appealing when you get to the day chart. But let's forget this reversal here. I know this looks very appealing here, but as this is coming up, and even though it's holding above 1920, you are in the sell zone of the range. So if you get caught at the top, there's no way I'm going to buy here ever, because this is where potentially the market can reverse. And this is where you should be very closely watching your levels of support and resistance for failure, because 1920 monthly resistance or support, it was becoming support, held last week on Tuesday and Monday. Tuesday we got below, but then put in a higher bottom to a higher top. Is at that point up here, we're in an uptrend, and then the trend just disintegrates. And if you're waiting for the trend to break a break of that low there, you're giving away a lot of profit. So just, the more you see it failing in these 79 high levels on the monthly charts at historical levels, historical highs, this is a great example of taking a picture, the monthly chart of, if you're seeing this scenario up here, there's a high chance it's going to fail. All right, so I would be trading this now that there is a significant top forming. I know the weekly trend is still up at the moment, so theoretically we could still move above that high if it really wanted to. But with that significant sell-off on the pairs to the dollar and the dollar index reversing, again, you want to be watching for a rally to finish. 62 level overlaps perfectly with your 1920 level. Slav, you watching that? You on there tonight? And I'm not seeing him on there. You might catch it in on recording. So 1920, 1921, 62% retracement level, your monthly resistance level. That would be a great level to watch. All right, can price move back up to that level for the lower top to form? Okay, you can monitor that. All right, any questions, everybody? So of course we've had Thursday, Friday, Monday sell-off, 3-day sell-off. Just looking for that sell-off may have come to a short-term end. Let's just go back to the euro dollar, see what it's doing. And still, whilst you'd love to see a rally, still negative on its 3rd day down at the moment. We may, the more this goes down without having a day up, the more significant that top becomes. All right. Of course, Well, I don't want to be a seller down here, but of course, there's always that fear of missing out. And you go and click in at the bottom. All right, so just wait for the rally. If this is a significant top that's forming, and maybe long term we're heading down back down to test last year's low, it will have a rally at some point and let you in. All right, so just be patient. So just monitor the retracement, but at the moment, it's not looking very retrace-like. What's that pound doing? It is holding above 120, but I mean, it's fading at central pivot point at the moment. What I am seeing intraday is that it's just having a 62% central pivot point rally, or maybe another move down here to have another go up 120 at the moment. Okay, but logically, you would like to see a good 100 pip rally or something, and then the opportunity to sell at a higher level. Okay, so my mode of operation at the moment is just waiting for a nice rally to occur on some of the pairs that maybe I'm not already. I'm already short the pound dollar. I'm already short the Aussie yen. But some of the other pairs, I'm just waiting for a rally to occur. All right, we've got maybe another 5-10 minutes. If there's anything you want me to review, another pair or instrument, just type it in. Got any questions, just type it in. Pound dollar here at the moment is a little bit bullish on the back of the interest rate decision today. So we may well, at the moment, we're fading at 69.50 area. So can we move above 69.50 up to 70? So one of the things I did notice when we had the interest rate decision come out, there's yesterday's high. We've only fractionally traded above yesterday's high. This rally up here at the moment can only test yesterday's high. So maybe this pair, in terms of strength, has only gotten just enough to get to the high of yesterday and just trade above it fractionally, and then we have a day down tomorrow. Maybe that's all it's got in it. Maybe this US dollar strength that we've been seeing is going to ferociously come in, and we're going to see a strong sell-off. All right, now, Cameron, you want me to look at the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar, or the Aussie dollar to the New Zealand dollar, I should say. Well, nothing much is changing from that 79% retracement. We're still at resistance here. All right. The weekly. See, the weekly trend is actually down, even though the monthly trend is up. So that's where it gets a little bit difficult. And when I see all these two low areas here, so there's your monthly top. Let's put the exact number in, 109,484. Then we've got another weekly low here, 109,558. And I'm just going to see what the fib's doing the other way around. All right, so the 50% point. So you could draw the fib either way. I was drawing it the way of the monthly trends. But at the moment, I don't know what your thought process is, but at the moment, my thought process 2-3 weeks ago was that this is a uptrend on the monthly, pulling back. But of course, this move up through here was potentially a breakout of all this kind of range to the left. So the fact that it couldn't hold above that area, couldn't hold back to this area of support to move up off, is a form of weakness. So this could actually form a top here to move down. Whereas the day chart at the moment is horrendous. It's just moves up higher bottom, higher top to then a lower bottom. Is this now coming up to put in the lower top? is that some form of head and shoulder pattern there? And like you say, you're saying it's range for 10 years. Yeah, because the Aussie and the New Zealand dollar are highly correlated. You know, they're very similar economies to live very close together in the same region. So, you know, my bias right today would be to sell up here, stop above the high, 79% retracement there. There's a very potential, very minor left shoulder, head, right shoulder could form there at your resistance zone, your monthly, weekly resistance area here, right? If we break it clearly away from this area, then of course the trend's up. But at the moment, Aussie dollar and probably the New Zealand dollar all falling to the US dollar pretty much at the same rate. So we're seeing a very consolidation area there at the moment at your monthly, weekly resistance. So, and I'd find a better pair to trade, but we might be forming a right shoulder area here at the 79% level. We can have another look at that on Thursday to see how it runs out. But it's very range bound. Hard to say which way it's going to break long term at the moment. All right, Cameron, I don't know whether, what's your bias at the moment? Have you got a long bias or a short bias? All right, so he's waiting to see which way it's going to break. And yeah, I don't know which way it's going to break either at the moment. We can obviously see as well, it doesn't really want to move above the last month's high. So, you know, if you had a shorting bias anywhere up here is a great selling area. Might offer a very easy approach to at least get the trade to break even by selling at such high levels. And then does it want to fail and move down? Because that very impulsive move up today was obviously from the interest rate decision. But since that impulsive move's hit last month's high, there's last month's high. There's where we tested it at the start of the month. So it's clearly getting capped at last month's high here. So any revisit, which we've had today, has once more got capped. So last month's high was at 109.85. So I would suggest like 110 is very strong resistance at the moment for this pair. I would expect some form of reaction at 110 back down. So that would potentially be a good level to short, maybe be able to get the risk out very quickly. And then what happens at 110? All right. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there unless anybody else has got anything to ask me. Tomorrow, I'm going to be taking you through the head and shoulder pattern. I've just been talking about that a little bit on that pair. How to trade the head and shoulder pattern tomorrow using Fibonacci. That's coming up tomorrow. So if you want to spend some time with me, you got the free time, 8 p.m. Sydney time, just come along, register your interest, and I look forward to seeing you then. They've got more live market analysis coming in on Thursday. All right, so no more questions coming in. So thanks very much for turning out. Of course, we've had fireworks over the last end of last week. Hopefully some of you did get on board that move down. If not, we're just waiting for maybe a rally to come in on your favorite pair. Or maybe, you know, further US dollar strength coming in the market. It is worth watching on that dollar index, as I said at the beginning. That dollar index, if we're going to get a continued move now, really needs to, we tested it today, really needs to move above. To develop the uptrend, we really need to move above, this is the monthly chart, this area of monthly resistance. 108.82. Of course, last year we were clearly above there. At the moment, it's asking the question, can we move back above? We've touched it today. We may need some form of pullback, so that means we'll get a rally on the pairs to the US dollar. May need like a 62% retracement before we can push on up. All right, I got a question coming in, so let me just read it. And all right, so you're going to contact me on LinkedIn, or you can contact me via email, however you want to do it. But yeah, no worries. Send me a hello and a question, and I'll get back to you. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for turning out. Hopefully you got some levels there that you can watch. What's that dollar yen doing? I'm just watching that dollar yen for a pullback. Back down to this 131.11, 131.100 level. Can it hold there for a continued upward move? All right. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Catch you tomorrow if you've got the time, or catch you on Thursday if you have the time. Other than that, I will hopefully have a successful trading week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.